Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater when she spotted it, a single paintbrush poking from a dumpster behind Auckland's community center. 65 years old, 3 weeks into being fam's favorite free-time grandma, and here was this rogue tool, bristles splayed like a middle finger to monotony. She pocketed it, ignoring salsa stain on her sleeve. Art fairs had always been her secret thrill. Now, with shaky hands and zero skill, she signed up for senior's workshop. That brush? Turned out it painted more. Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater like stubborn glitter on a festival goer, a glitter she hadn't asked for. Days blurred into weeks, each sunrise stretching longer than Auckland's summer twilights. Her old routine, teaching primary school art, had been her compass, but now she wandered without one, a ship adrift in Waitemata Harbor. Then came Flyer, fluttering onto her doorstep like a cheeky 2A bird. Community art fair, no experience needed. Helen scoffed. 65 years young, and here she was hesitating over a paintbrush like some rookie. That brush had once been her wand, conjuring finger-painted masterpieces from sticky-handed kids. Now it felt foreign, heavy with expectation. Her first stroke on canvas was a clumsy step, more wobble than waltz. But color bloomed beneath her fingers, ochre like Rangitoto dawn, blues deeper than Hauraki Gulf. Each dab quieted gnawing fear, becoming invisible, a ghost in her own story. Art became her anchor, her rebellion against myth that retirees should fade into beige cardigans and daytime TV. By fair day, her piece stood bold among others, a whirl of memories and dreams, her brushstrokes whispering, still here, still creating. Strangers paused, nodded. One even mistook her for a proper artist, which made her snort laugh into her coffee. Later, walking home past food trucks selling hangy pies, Helen realized something. Purpose wasn't lost, just repainted. And fam? That glitter wasn't so stubborn after all. Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater like stubborn glitter when she first wandered into that community center art class. A flyer had caught her eye, "Unleash Your Inner Picasso," with a paintbrush graphic so cheery it felt like fate nudging her. She'd never held a brush outside grade school, but boredom had become her loudest companion since leaving her accounting job. That first session, she fumbled with acrylics, smearing more on her apron than canvas, earning chuckles from a silver-haired regular who called it abstract confetti. By week 3, Helen's shaky lines began to steady. She found rhythm and drag of bristles, way colors bled into each other like sunset over Waitemata Harbor. Her mentor, a spry 78-year-old named Margot with a penchant for neon scarves, showed her how to layer washes without muddying hues. "Slow down, love," Margot would say, tapping Helen's wrist. Paint's got its own timetable. She learned to lean into mistakes. A rogue streak of cerulean became a bird in flight. A splotch of crimson morphed into pohutukawa blossoms. Then came Flyer for Auckland Community Art Fair. Margot winked. Time to show off, fam. Helen's pulse skittered. But she signed up, spending nights blending shades on her tiny balcony, chasing that elusive click when a piece felt alive. Morning light revealed her progress, a series of canvases capturing city's heartbeat, from bustling viaduct to quiet corners of Cornwall Park. Fair day dawned breezy. Helen's hands trembled as she arranged her works, but Margot appeared with a flask of chamomile tea and a squeeze to her shoulder. Strangers paused her booth, murmuring over a particularly vibrant piece, a lone kotare perched on a branch, its feathers rendered in bold strokes. One woman, eyes misty, whispered, "Feels like hope." Helen's throat tightened. By afternoon, 3 pieces had sold. Not a fortune, but proof her hands could still create something that mattered. As she packed up, Margot handed her a new brush, sable hair, buttery handle. "For next chapter," she said. Helen twirled it between fingers, realizing this wasn't just about paint. It was about rewriting her story, one bold stroke at a time. Driving home, she glanced passenger seat where her remaining canvases lay. For first time in months, retirement didn't feel like an ending. It smelled like turpentine and possibility. Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater like glittery barnacles, stubborn as her own resistance to becoming one of those women who treated grocery runs like Olympic events. 65 wasn't old, just ask her niece, which only creaked when climbing stairs or bending to retrieve dropped paintbrushes. Ah yes, paintbrushes. That first one had been a whim, snatched from a clearance bin after wandering into an art supply store for no reason other than to avoid another afternoon of rearranging spice jars alphabetically. Auckland's autumn light slanted through her kitchen window, gilding a half-finished watercolor of Rangitoto Island. It looked more like a squash beetroot than a volcano, but woman smudged shadows anyway, fingers stubborn. Art therapy, some chipper blog had called it. She called it not losing her mind while pretending not to miss boardroom battles. Community center flyers piled up by her toaster. Seniors yoga. Knit and natter. Then, wedged between coupons for prune juice, North Shore Art Fair, open submissions. She snorted. Her last public display of creativity had been a macaroni necklace but that evening, she caught herself staring her beetroot volcano, then flyer, then back. What if? Dowd arrived right on schedule wearing its usual sweatpants of self-sabotage. Who'd care about some retiree's hobby? But then she remembered Lorna from her old fam office who'd retired only to spend 6 months binge-watching courtroom dramas before adopting a trio of delinquent parrots. Purpose didn't retire, it just needed a new uniform. Helen signed up. Weeks blurred into color-stained mornings. She ruined canvases, cursed gradients, once accidentally painted her cat's tail cobalt. But beneath frustration flickered something else, quiet thrill of learning a language her hands didn't yet speak. Opening night arrived with a drizzle and a heartbeat loud enough to rival espresso machine fair's pop-up cafe. Strangers paused by her display. One woman, fingers tracing a brushstroke, murmured, "Feels like wind." Helen's throat tightened. That squash beetroot had become a story. Her story. Walking home, she pocketed paintbrush, not a trophy but a compass. 65 wasn't an ending. It was just age she'd been when she remembered how to begin. Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater like glittery barnacles when doubt crept in. Days blurred into grocery runs and reruns until she stumbled into a community center art class, no masterpiece required, just curiosity. Skeptical but desperate, she grabbed a paintbrush like it was a lifeline. First strokes were wobbly as a newborn giraffe, but color splashed across canvas felt like waking up. Weeks later, inspiration struck during a chaotic art fair. A blank mural board stood neglected in a corner, begging for boldness. Heart-pounding, Helen commandeered it with zero permission, attacking surface with wild strokes, vibrant blues, fiery oranges, a swirl of silver for good measure. Passers-by paused. A snarky teen muttered about Grandma's midlife crisis until her composition snapped into focus. A phoenix rising from tangled threads, its wings a mosaic of every hue she'd ever loved. Someone snapped a photo. By sundown, her piece had a nickname, Second Dawn, and local arts council demanded it for their gallery. Helen's hands shook as strangers cheered, but her mind was crystal clear. I'm writing my own story now. Even teens scoffed, then gaped when a buyer offered 4 figures on spot. Paintbrush still clutched in her grip, Helen smirked. Retirement wasn't an epilogue, it was a blank canvas, and fam, she'd just cracked open a fresh pot of gold. Helen's retirement party confetti still clung to her sweater like stubborn glitter, but her hands, once restless shuffling spreadsheets, now danced with a paintbrush. Auckland's gray skies couldn't dampen her newfound obsession, squeezing cerulean onto palettes, smearing vermilion into sunrise. Art therapy, suggested by a cheeky nurse, better than bingo, love, became her compass. First, her canvases whispered self-doubt, sloppy strokes, muddy colors. But Helen, 65 and stubborn as a kakako bird, kept showing up to community studio. Odd habit? She hummed ABBA while blending ochre. Slowly, her art morphed. Wobbly lines steadied into bold Mauna mountains, watery blues deepened into Hauraki Gulf waves. A local art fair curator spotted her work, chuckling her menopausal Monet vibe, and offered a booth. Helen's show, Karoo Unfurled, wasn't just brushwork, it was a beacon. Strangers lingered before her pieces, murmuring memories. A widow traced a crimson swirl, whispering, "That's how my heart feels." Teens snapped photos for their moody playlists. Helen, now guiding silver-haired newbies through their first brushstrokes, realized art wasn't just hers, it was oxygen for fam craving color in life's beige chapters. Her paintbrush, once timid, now slashed confidence across murals and community center. Age? Just a number, like price tags on her sold-out seascapes. Auckland's art fairs buzzed about late-blooming kahuna, but Helen smirked, squirting magenta straight from tube. Retirement hadn't erased her, it remixed her. Grab a brush, paint your next chapter bold.